Hello everyone, this is R.S. Miller at the endtimenews.org and today is August 25th, 2013. This is your Fast Track Report. Russian military forces on high alert over Syria. Russia's forces went on war alert as U.S. prepares to attack Syria, according to a report by Depkafile. President Barack Obama and UK Prime Minister David Cameron spent 40 minutes on the phone Saturday night amid the strongest indications to date from Washington that direct military intervention by the West was approaching following a change in the U.S. president's posture. He has become convinced that the strike would have to be conducted outside the United Nations. Military commanders from Western and Muslim countries are meeting Sunday in the Jordanian capital of Amman to coordinate action in Syria, with the participation of the U.S., Britain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, France, Italy, and Canada. General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the U.S. Chiefs of Staff, chairs the meeting. Saturday night, 4 American destroyers were moving closer to Syria, armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, which are capable of precision strikes. While Western media are reporting at length on Western, Arab, and Muslim military preparations, Israel's armed forces are moving ahead in secrecy. Its officials spread soothing statements asserting Israel's non-involvement in the Syrian turmoil, as Israel's military and intelligence agencies get ready for Syria to counterattack by loosing missiles against their country, as well as Jordan and Turkey. All three also expect an explosion of terrorism. Now, I have to add that I was not able to verify the heightened alert status of the Russian military, but considering how many times in the recent past Moscow has made it perfectly clear to the West that they would not tolerate foreign military intervention in Syria, then being prepared for war seems to be a prudent step. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke on Sunday about the recent chemical weapons attack in Syria as he addressed his ministers at the beginning of the weekly cabinet meeting. This situation cannot continue. The most dangerous regimes on earth must not have the most dangerous weapons on earth, and we expect this to end, he declared. What happened in Syria is a crime and a terrible tragedy, he continued. Our hearts are with the women, children, and babies who were so cruelly hurt by the weapons of mass destruction. Netanyahu also spoke of Israel's current position. Terrorist groups have targeted Israel with rocket fire on the Golan and on the northern Galilee in an apparent attempt to drag the Jewish state into the conflict. Our hand is on the pulse. It will act responsibly. But if it becomes necessary, we also have a finger on the trigger, he warned. Iran on Sunday warned the United States against crossing the so-called red line and intervening militarily in Syria, saying such actions would have severe consequences, according to the Fars news agency. America knows the limitations of the red line of the Syrian front, and any crossing of Syria's red line will have severe consequences for the White House, said Masoud Jazayeri, Deputy Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces, reacting to statements by Western officials regarding the possibility of military intervention in Syria. Lieutenant Commander of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps in Iran, the Ground Forces General Abdullah Araki, underlined that the IRGC is fully prepared to repel any kind of threat and fight enemies in every battlefield. We enjoy the necessary preparedness to confront any military threat with full intelligence dominance and possessing powerful armed forces, and will give a crushing response to any threat against our country, Araki said in Tehran on Sunday. Any U.S. military intervention in Syria will merely exacerbate the crisis in the Arab country and put the globe on the brink of another war, according to a political analyst interviewed by Presstv. U.S. military involvement in Syria obviously would not resolve the crisis. It would just make it worse, as always happens when the U.S. military gets involved in parts of the world where it has no business being, according to Kevin Barrett. This is a dangerous move because we are really on the edge of a potential World War III in Syria. The region is being destabilized more and more at every moment, he pointed out.
Barack Obama and David Cameron have threatened Syria's government with a serious response if it's confirmed the authorities in Damascus gassed hundreds of people on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Assad's administration has warned against a US-led intervention, saying the move would set the Middle East ablaze. RT's Paula Slier told us the latest reports coming from the country are casting doubts over the allegations against the Syrian regime.
Syrian state television is reporting that Syrian soldiers entered a number of tunnels that had been used by rebel fighters in Damascus, and there they found empty shells, the remnants of chemical agents. What we do know is that the shells had marked on them made in Saudi Arabia, and of course Saudi Arabia has long been a critic of the Syrian president Bashar Assad. The soldiers started coughing, they started suffocating, and immediately ambulances had to be sent to the scene to actually assist these soldiers. Now this comes as the United States starts moving its naval ships in the Mediterranean closer to the Syrian coast. The indications on the ground are that the first wave of preparations for any kind of military intervention inside Syria are underway, and that the US and in particular the Navy is just waiting for the green light. What we've heard from Obama is that he is mulling over the situation. He says that it needs to be thought over seriously. There needs to be a wariness in terms of making this decision, but that any kind of military attack inside Syria would be both costly and deadly. The word he used was difficult. The Defense Department has been tasked with giving Obama all the latest facts on the ground. UN investigators are inside Syria. They've been there now for a week. They arrived last Sunday. They're investigating at least a dozen other reports of chemical usage. And the Damascus government has pledged to give full support to the UN investigators in trying to reach the area where this latest alleged chemical attack took place. But it took place in rebel-held areas, so really it's not really up to the Damascus regime to ensure maximum cooperation, but they have said that they will do their best to ensure that there is a safe passage for the investigators.
Well, that's the end of this report. But make no mistake about it, World War III is coming, whether it is happening now or at some point in the future. It is an absolute certainty. Are you saved? Follow the link in the box below and pray the prayer of salvation with a sincere heart, and you will be saved. May God bless you.